Friday, you can submit your presentation video so that ma-better facilitate ang pag access sa inyong presentation so that dili na ta mag-lag kung na ay mag-blackout or low og signal, at least ma-plug na nato sa link ang atong video para sa inyong classmates, no? And para pod inyong classmates na sila reference, no, para sa presentation ninyo. Okay, so for Friday we have 3 presentations from the team of Nale et al. From second is Kang Abunda, Alarcon and et al. And then we have the last, Ilani Ho, Mondihar, and Tangpos et al. So you have only to present for about 12 to 15 minutes, and then you have question and answer portion na dayo. Handouts are already submitted based on the discussion. Dar, manghangyo lang ko kung pwede butang number ang presentation slide, kung unsa sila nga day kay mag-exam ko kay basing first 3, first 4, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Hindi lagi naka-order ang number sa presentation. Pero ato lang i-edit later kung makasubmit na sila sa PowerPoints. Okay ra na siya.
Sige, ma'am.
Okay. I'd like to proceed with the presentations, and if kung na may questions later, it's okay to ask questions about sa inyong presentation. Okay, so today I'll present the exercises that you will have for transportation engineering and environmental engineering. Okay, so the first one is in the medyo taas ang first one, no, sa environmental engineering. I'll do this first para at least dali na mo maka-take off sa transportation engineering. So this exercise is related to climate change and sustainable effort in terms of environmental application. So we have already discussed environmental engineering, transportation engineering, and water engineering. And we already kind of discussed about sustainable urban engineering applications for climate change and greenhouse gas reduction. So the exercises are actually for transpo and environmental. Then I will just continue with my presentation next time pag mahuman na ang mga reporting sa grupo, kay I only have 2 more PowerPoints. And I'm really sorry, dili na ko maapas kay kulang ko sa time, and so I'm so busy, yun kaayo na ako yung deadlines na ihatod para sa university. So bear with me. Ang subject CEM to more or less na cover naman, na lang ko'y duha na lang ka-presentation after sa presentation sa inyong classmates, no? So for the exercise on environmental engineering, we have actually waste management application, and maybe later on I can show you water audit application. But for now, this is related to water audit and waste audit and waste management. So when it comes to waste audit, usually what we do sa balay is we take on pila ang waste na ma-generate sa isa ka household. So because we cannot apply this in commercial, institutional, and municipal application, we'll just have residential ka naman mo sa balay karon. A few years back, 2 of my students were able to do research related to institutional and municipal waste application for civil engineering FYPS. Some of the material that they have collected from waste is actually recycled or reused in terms of product development sa atong construction management application. So this is very important for you to know unsang atong mga waste, so that we can at least address issues related to environmental engineering applications, and then we can manage our waste and utilize that waste for product development. Okay, so let me start with the residential. So residential and other sources can be classified further into the typical waste generators, unsa ang rason nga naay waste, and then unsa ang components of the solid waste. Makita ninyong screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Makita ninyong screen? Okay, sige. So by components of waste, na different types of waste. That's it. And then typical generator, kung residential, usually is a family or a household comprising number of people who are within the residence. Okay, so ang inventory sheet for the project sa pre-final exam will be something like this, no? So naka-inventory sheet nga atong buhaton ang tulo ka grupo, triad, kung unsa inyong waste sa inyong balay. Ang inyo rin buhaton is you you weigh, timbangon ninyo inyong waste for 7 days, no? And then, characterize ninyo ang waste based kung sa nga type of waste ang inyo na-generate sa balay. So, please make sure na you identify, for example, kung food waste na siya, you can write in there food waste, and then you can have also paper, kung like paper or cardboard material, plastics, if namin ginalabay in a week nga plastics, and then mga cans, kanang mga dry goods, for example, for food, no? Usually, mama na ang household nato nga waste. So if you do that, you can have your Monday and then Tuesday until the Sunday nga inventory for the waste sa balay. You have 7 days data collection. You can either start any day, no? Pwede mag-start mo Wednesday, then mag-end mo Wednesday, something like that. Doesn't matter. Ang importante is you have 7 days of data collection. You have to weigh, isagregate niyo inyong waste, and then timbangon niyo mo per item. Kung waste siya nga food waste, inyong timbangon ang food waste. Kung paper, timbangon yung paper, and so forth. So daily, na mo siya buhat, or maybe late in the evening, or early the next day before ninyo matambakan of the new set of waste, no? Ay sa isa kaadlaw naman tayo basura. So kung sa itong accumulate nga basura sa isa kaadlaw, then that's the one mong i-weight for day 1. And then the next day, na napog ka-accumulated waste, separate mo to sa day 1, as of day 1, because of course, this is the parihag day. So again, i-weight mo siya kung pila ang na-accumulate na waste for day 2. So again, composition-wise, pwede kayo naiusahay, wala kay zero kayo ang cardboard, na ay pwede nga na cardboard or wala cardboard, so something like that. Okay ba na siya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So kung mag-ingon mo nga ma'am, unsa man namong gamiton for timbangan. So any weights will do. Pwede nga magamit mo og kining estimation weights. Kanang bitaw sa scale, pangtimbang sa tao, you can use that, or kanang timbangan gyud sa tindahan na mas mga timbangan. So you kind of weights each, no, ginagmay nga item nga nasa balay. So if you do not have all, like kamo lugar inyong classmate na isa sa inyo dili, so pwede duha lang ka team members ang mag-weights kung mora gid mahimo sa 7 days nga data collection. So I'm giving you 2 weeks to do these things so that by December, second week sa December, human na mo and makasubmit na mo sa project for pre-final. So the waste management exercise is a pre-final project for the class, especially sa triad. Okay ba na?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So you have 14 days to collect your data. It's okay if dito na mo sa last week, sa second week na mo, so that's okay. Ako na na-i-leave sa inyo. Basta na may 2 weeks allowance to collect the data for 7 days. Okay, so what will you do then with the data that you have, assuming ang imong food waste and material components of the waste are already inventoried for day 1, day 2, and then nakatimbang na mo ana, so butang ninyo ang weights niya per day. So you can have something like analysis in terms of waste management. The first one is moisture content. Kay if you have a material which is waste, tendency ang waste yun na siya tubig, no? So nganong atong mang ila-ilahon ng tubig? Because sa atong civil engineering works, we do water content analysis. And water content is important in terms of analyzing materials and comparing wet weight and then the dry weight of the material. So kung ang material uga or ang material basa, no? So kung naay basurahan on a daily basis para sa inventory ani, palihog lang ayaw ibutang sa area nga maigo siya sa adlaw kay basin wala na may moisture content mako kay nauga kayo inyong waste, no? So kailangan dito lang dapit sa may shaded area para pag timbang ninyo makakompute pa mo sa moisture content sa material. Okay ba na? Okay ba na tanan? Okay. Sige. So then let's start with the moisture content na basis. So moisture content basis na akang table of moisture content in terms of typical value. So typical values is na range and na yung typical percent value ni siya ha. So different types. So pilion na ninyo ang residential and then unsa nga klase nga waste, kuhaon ninyo ang typical value. So let's say for example, you have this one na kay nakuha sa isa ka semana nga 85 kilogram of kanang waste, no? And then sa 85, imong nakita, it's about these types, no? Food waste, paper waste, cardboard, ana. So, kung natimbang na nimo, you have the first column for the weight, and then ang third column is iyang typical value based sa table kaganina. Okay, so the table 2.1. So, ibutang ninyo yung typical value, and then you can compute ilang percentage, 85 kilogram ang mga items by characteristics of waste. And then, kung makuha niyo percentage, you can complete the second column, and then you get the wet ratio and dry ratio. So, unsang difference dayon? The difference is, ang wet ratio na formula, but the simplest thing you can do is based on this item, no? Kung ang uncompacted refuse component, naman na siya typical value, so you can place in there ang yung wet ratio, dayon kung makuha niyo yung wet ratio niya, minus na lang dayon dinhi, mo na mahimong dry ratio. So, na example din niyo. So, ang ihang weight is 85 kilos. Kaning answer ni Annie is this one. No? So, ang wet ratio was given by the formula. That's typical moisture content. And then, ang iyang weight, actual. So, you get the wet ratio. So, ang difference dayon sa wet ratio against sa weight niyang actual becomes your dry ratio. And that's the reason, ayaw sa siya ipabutang sa init sa adlaw inyong material para makuha gini yung exact nga moisture content for wet ratio, kani nga column. Okay, so below dayon na mga exercises that you can practice so that you will be able to at least compute moisture content. Okay. After moisture content, ang atong problem is knowing pinang volume sa atong waste. Unsa kadako ang i-occupy nga space in terms of volume sa atong material waste. So atong material waste has a component with respect to solid waste, composition, moisture content, and density. So density is kilogram per cubic volume. Mass over volume man na siyang density, no? Nawala ang 3 sa taas. So there is a typical value, and then the typical value has also the range depending on type of imong waste. So let's say, for example, using the typical value, you will have a sample exercise here, no, na akang weight sa imong waste sa isa ka adlaw 120 kilogram, basin commercial siya, no, daw kayo ang inyong volume, no. So kung manang nahitabo sa inyong volume, then you get your type of materials that as the component of the waste and pila ka percent siya. Let's say, for example, ang percentage sa total is 50% with ang bulk sa food. But with respect to the weight ng 120, so you get 60 di kilogram ang food waste, no, overall. So that being the case, you get your typical value sa density, ganina, you can get the actual volume. So the answer is actually the actual volume. More or less, kabalo din ka, na kung i-compact imong material para balabay siya gisakto sa landfill mo ni ang volume nga iyang i-occupy, no, for a 120 kilogram na weight of material. Okay? Okay ba na?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so na exercises akong ihatag duha ka buok para maka-practice mo. Okay, next dayon is a typical value for energy. So ang material, kung ato siyang sunugon, it becomes energy in form because combusting it, kung ato siyang sunugon, it will create energy, a fuel to something. So, but atong tumong sa energy is for energy conservation is dili ta magsunog, kay kung magsunog ta, pollution man po na siya. But nevertheless, kung pollution siya, kung ato siyang gamiton as fuel, for any form nga fuel, pagluto ba sa balay or something, mapakapadagan ba siya sa sakyanan, kaya no, pagsunog niya, then we have actually what we call as total energy. So total energy typical value is here, no, nakatabulate yapon siya. So if you have a material, for example, nakoy table din. So the material is actually component of waste of 50 kilogram, and then naka-classify siya according sa iyang type of waste. And then nadan siya weight, no? Kay 50 kilogram man siya. So more or less makita nimo distribution sa weight based on that type of waste. And for that, kaning yellow portion nakuha nimo ang typical value of the waste based sa kanyang characteristics, no? So if you do that, you will get the actual total energy per item, no? Total energy kada weight sa material. So ngano man ma'am, because ma-cancel man ang kilogram, sa weight against energy na typical value. Ang mabilin din nga unit is kilojoule. Okay. Kung mag-compute dayon ka overall, you will have to compute for total energy sa imuhang waste, no? So this is the example where you compute the formula for getting the total energy content sa imuhang nakuha dinhi sa item for analysis. Okay. So that's a example of total energy. So napaisa ka sheet din ni for total energy, you can also use this one. And then you have components of the chemical waste that you have. So chemical composition of the waste, muna siya ang typical value. Yeah? So you have, kung magsunog tag material, at the end of the day, a material is actually comprising carbon, hydrocarbon, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and ash. So if it is organic, muna ang magawas ng mga typical value. Now, chemical composition-wise, you can also refer to this. This is the same. Ang iya lang difference ani kay kung unsa imong gigamit nga weight, maybe kilogram or pound. So an example here is then done. Monit siya ang value nga pangitaon nimo composition. So this is wet weight, no? Tung imuhang material nga as the usual pa siya pa nimo gipauga. So mo ni makuha nimo nga iyang weight. And then ang dry weight is when you will be able to get the typical percent dry weight of the material, so you can at least get the idea pila po ang ihang dry weight in terms of the weight itself in kilogram. So if you do that, you can actually refer to the table dayon for typical value composition of the for the weights of each item. So then makuha nimo ning red area, no, sa matrix. If you want to check if correct mo, checking wise kailangan ang sum niya sa all components should be more or less equal sa iya dining dry weight, no? Kung naman ay gamay nga decimal value of difference 0.01, that's okay. So if you notice ang total dry weight kaganina is 74.10. Pag check nato sa composition of material, we have actually 74.13. That's okay kay sometimes kani nga value kay constant man siya based on the typical, so nalay gamay nga excess. So note na the C, H, O, and S here are actually fraction of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur nga chemical composition of material. And if we use the modified Dulong's formula for energy content, you can use this one in terms of calculating the overall energy content of the burnt item with respect to composition. It's in terms of BTU per unit pound. Now notice this is kilograms, so you kindly convert that to pound if necessary. So the composition is equal to 145 of carbon plus 610 of the quantity, hydrocarbon, minus oxygen over 8, no? That's only for oxygen na nga part, ha? And then plus 40 of sulfur plus 10 of nitrogen. So that way, maka-solve mo for the chemical composition of your material. So this is a simple sample that I gave here para maka-practice mo, and then napod siya PowerPoint slide para mas masabtan ang Dulong's formula for chemical composition of waste. Okay? Sige. So far, na question? Wala question?
Wala na, ma'am.
Okay. So, as usual, we will use katong what to say paper nato nga Excel, no? When you do the calculations and then mag-summarize lang ta og document, dito na ibutang ang mga results and discuss dayon ang answer ninyo. What does it represent or observation or the explanation of the values that you were able to get, at least for pre-final project. Okay. So if it's okay, we'll go then to transportation engineering application. Okay, so sa transportation engineering, we have eco driving na naman. So the instruction here is eco driving is a method of driving that is adopted so that drivers' driving operation will be consistent with vehicle design and engine performance. Car manufacturers recommend the adoption of eco-drive to advance mobile emission reduction and fuel consumption reduction in line with the promotion of GHG reduction and climate change mitigation measures. So for your exercise, you are to use the typical data of eco-driving. Kadali lang ha. SMU. Mag-apas lang ko sa question, okay ra?
Ay, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Wala na,
thank
ma'am.
you.
Question and answer na po.
Sa
Sige,
second
ma'am.
group, sa second group?
Ay, sa kanina, ma'am.
Sa first group, human ako.
Ay, okay, ma'am. Kay Sir World Borderama, ma'am.
Okay, kajit lang ha. Sulod
Oo,
ko.
sige, ma'am. Thank you. Sunod,
Okay, so sa eco driving, you have two data for Manila and Tokyo diagnostics, and for this data, you are to compute for statistics at the same time profile of drivers who are trained for eco drive. 30 sila ka book each sample, so na-guide sa ubos. It's before and after na siya ha, ang prime. Sorry. And then, tanaw din ninyo sa question din is to assess, start the analysis with profile and progress to test statistics in order to assess successful adoption of driving properly and efficiently for eco driving. Is that okay? Will that be okay for everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige.
Yes, ma'am.
Kung walay question, kindly, Dar, manapa may time, can you meet as a group lang sa triad so that you can discuss the exercise at the same time the project for the pre-final?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Palihog din po sa attendance din, Dar.
Yes, ma'am. Maura to for today, ma'am.
Ora, kay naman ko'y convention ang apilan.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Sad Kaayo. Dar, napaka?
Yes, ma'am.
Ipalihog lang kung switch off, Dar, ha?
Sa kuan, sa...
Sa Zoom. Oh,
Ay.
sorry. Ako na lang mag-exit kay basin mag-meeting pa mo, ha?
Sige, ma'am. Sige, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Kung na may question, you can kindly refer that on Friday. I will still be here for the presentation ninyo. But the deadline for kanang sa transportation engineering is Saturday, ha? Kung alam mo i-verify, that's okay. Profiling lang sa mo before mo mag-test statistics. Bye,
Okay, ma'am.
everyone.
Okay, ma'am.
See you
Bye,
on
ma'am.
Friday.
Okay, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Um,
science high school, and
What?
I used to go to a
Wait,
science
me
high school and
too.
took STEM.
Me too.